Thanks for joining us here at Nauset Regional High School for an auspicious occasion, something that some of us never thought would happen. We actually have construction due to a lot of fortunate things that happened for this project. I have to recognize first of the 22,000 citizens of this district who went to the ballot and voted twice to support this. It shows their dedication to education and for their children, future generations, and the communities that they belong to. So we need to thank them. We need to thank also the dignitaries who are showing up: Senator Sear, Mr. McCarthy, Sarah Peak, Brian Carlson, the superintendent of the National Seashore, Clenchey, the superintendent of schools, school committee members, and of course my fellow building committee members. We've been at this since January 22nd, 2018. It's been a long slog, a lot of bumps in the road, but this is the proof of the pudding that we've done our job for the local citizens. We're fortunate in having a great project manager team and CHA Daedalus. They were helpful in getting us a good design team, Flansburgh Architects, and we're very happy to have great construction builders as our general contractor. They have a great reputation and are working diligently, as you can see, to bring this project forward. So if you can imagine, 2 months ago, there were buildings behind me. Now there are empty spaces, but in 60 days, there will be steel erected for roughly 50% of this project. We are promised, if everything goes well, that next August, this campus will be ready to occupy for the students in September of next year, and then we'll do phase 2. So it's amazing how much is going to get done in the next few months. So keep this date in mind. Sometime in mid-August, roughly 2 months from today, we'll be back here for the topping off ceremony, where the last highest beam, the Performing Arts Center, will be hoisted into place. You'll all be welcome to come up and sign it, so that it's part of the ancestry of the project moving forward. So as many people come and sign it, that'd be great. So I'll welcome you to do that. We'll let you know by invitation to do that as well. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the band for Nauset Regional High School. If you'd stand, please. We have our national anthem. Thank you. Thank you. They're sticking around. They're going to do some more for us. I also want to mention our special guest today is Mr. Jack McCarthy from MSBA, who is unfortunately look at retiring this year. So this will be one of his last ceremonies. So welcome, Mr. McCarthy. Good to see you again. I'll hand it over now to Mr. Beasley, Chairman of the School Committee.
I realized that was the first speech, so you'll have to forgive me. I wasn't really doing an intro. So, there's no greater gift that a community can give its children and families than a new school. Sitting here before you, we have the construction phase of a task that began 8 years ago. We would like to thank our communities for their continued support of quality education in the Nauset region and for voting for the funds to construct a new high school, not once, but twice. It says so much about the soul and the character of the citizens of our communities and their continued support of quality education. We all in turn owe a huge debt of gratitude to the countless people that have given and continue to give their time and energy to bring that vision from 8 years ago into the construction phase that you see all around you. It is important to thank the educators and the administrators that worked with the designers and the architects to see to it that our new high school design would meet the educational needs of our students for the next 50 years. This collaboration, more than anything else, will ensure that our new high school will be a quality environment for our children to receive their education in. Let us stop today and take some time to be thankful for all we have. We live in a beautiful section of the country, never more than 5 minutes from a wave, a dune, or a peaceful pond. Such a great place to raise a family. We should be thankful to our community and our citizens that value families and children. We should be thankful for all those teachers and administrators who continue to work so hard to bring and provide quality education to our children, our students. In being thankful, we also need to recognize the continuation of these riches are only possible if we all work to maintain and improve them. So let us celebrate education today, and may each of us commit to work even harder to maintain and improve the qualities, the characteristics that we so value in our communities. The only way to ensure our future is if we all endeavor to give of ourselves, our time, our energy to town government, to school governance, or just to volunteer to maintain and improve the quality of the community in which we live. This is what makes living here on the Outer Cape all worthwhile. Thank you. Thank you for your help.
Next up, I'd like to introduce Superintendent Brooke Clenchy for her remarks. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much. I would like to take this opportunity to extend a deep note of gratitude to our 4 communities who've continued to support this project, as Chair Easley just said, not once, but twice. It is incredibly exciting to see it moving along so very quickly. From the demolition stage to the rebuilding that we're witnessing now, it has been an incredible journey to watch and experience firsthand. Thank you to our legislators, Senator Sear, Representative Peake, and Representative Flanagan, and the Massachusetts School Building Authority for believing in us and our need to do this. This gives us an opportunity to put into place a legacy for the next 50 years for Nauset students. Thank you to the NPS Regional School Committee, with a special shout out to Chris Easley and Judith Schumacher for all of their unwavering support and their commitment to this project, including meeting in all of our 4 communities in December to support the movement towards securing the additional $38 million that was required for us to keep this project on target. Thank you to our NRHS Building Committee and Greg Lavasser, who, although have seen some changes in membership over the years, have indeed been meeting for years in the planning and implementation of this project. And they too have shown unwavering support and dedication for the realization of this project. To our NRHS staff and students who currently are feeling this seismic shift in real time, Thank you for your flexibility and working with the flow of the project. Special thanks to Principal Pat Clark for his continued efforts to rearrange everything and ensure the safety of all on campus. And to Kathleen Tringali and Tom Ferris for their ongoing Herculean efforts in so many aspects of this project. Also, a special note of thanks to Bob Capurso, the Nauset Regional School Director's Facilities Director, and for everything that he consistently brings to our discussions and his hard work. To our OPM, engineer, architect, and general contractor, thank you for realizing this dream for us and ensuring that it happens and guiding us at every step. It takes a village to do great things. And here in Nauset, our village has come together to ensure the longevity of an amazing school district. We are filled with gratitude, and we appreciate watching this project take life beyond the paper, beyond the drawings. Every day, the landscape of this project continues to take shape. It is a gift that this generation passes on to future generations, and we are so proud to be a component of the efforts that are moving this building forward. Thank you.
So if Mr. Tom Foley and Kelly Clifford could come forward, please. As two students representing the current student body, they have some poems for us. Please, thank you.
Good afternoon and thank you. Amidst the salty air where seagulls soar, a beacon of knowledge shines bright ahead. A high school in the national seashore in which our education has been led. The halls are filled with eager minds and hearts, with teachers guiding students on their way. But the time has now come for a new start. A new school awaits creation today. This new Nauset shall be a symbol of pride, a new Nauset in all that we hold dear. Let us never let our spirits subside. We shall conquer new heights and never fear. The time has come for us to start anew. With courage and hope, our dreams will come due.
Waves crash on the national seashore, and the salty spray blows up to our school. A place of education and so much more, but now Nauset will shine as a new jewel. This time of change can be intimidating for all, but despite how it may look, feel, or seem, our school's past is not taken down by a wrecking ball. Rather, it can flourish within a new place of esteem. From our classes to our clubs and sports, Nauset is kind, creative, and fun. In perfecting our school's exterior supports, all of these virtues we wish to thrive under. We can smile and look at what is to come, knowing that we have all created a unique place, the outward appearance now matching its students and some, a newly built school to fully embrace. So we celebrate our new space of learning and all the opportunities it will provide. A school where no student will be left hurting, a place that will truly be our guide. Thank you.
Senators here. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm mindful of the sign here that says this is an occupied school campus, no use of vulgar language. I probably could have used that sign when I was a student here. And hard to believe, actually. So I graduated from this campus, I think many of you know, in 2004, which is a horrifying 19 years ago. But it's such a joy to be here and to see this. I hadn't driven down Cable Road in a while, and wow, this is going to realize so many dreams. I remember being a student who was rehearsing in a it was a beautiful kind of secret room, but in this bizarre corner room above the library for the choir, or using Lisa Brown's world music class as the dressing room for Jesus Christ Superstar, or the leaking ceilings in Miss King's class in A building. And I just have to say, what an exceptional education that I received, not only in learning about the world and a whole host of things that have served me well, but Nauset was really the first place that I got to get involved in my community and got involved in politics with activist principals like Tom Conrad and folks in the school committee like Maria Knopfti and so many others that were serving. And we worked on a Proposition 2.5 override in 2003, which was not really certain at the time. And like the 2 votes that voters took in the past few years here to support the schools, voters in the 4 districts supported quality education then too. And that was the first time for me as a queer kid who was figuring out his way in the world, that I kind of got the bug and said, hey, wait a minute, like, I can step out into my community and create change. And I guess I've been riffing on that ever since. So I owe a great deal of debt to Nauset, and I think so many of us do. And it is just so exciting to see this facility, to have a world-class facility catch up with the world-class education that we have today. So thank you to the school committee and the building committee for your tenacity here. We are trying to help you a little more in the Senate budget. We have a proposal for an additional $100 million that is going to school projects like this that are over budget. If we can sustain it in the final budget, it'll mean an additional $7.2 million in state funding on top of, I think, the $30 million that's already come. So we're trying to help you out there. But really just, it's so exciting to see this. Thank you to the voters who continue to support, who supported quality education back in 2003, are supporting quality education today. And it's just, I can't wait to be back. I'm so thrilled. There's going to be a huge, big arts and music center here. And I just really want to thank each and every one of you. You've really made a difference in my own lives. And I hope that the students who are lucky enough to go here, I hope you all know how fortunate and lucky you are to grow up in this very unique, special part of the world, the education you're getting, and I'm hoping you go off and do lots of fabulous, wonderful, great things, whether it's here on Cape Cod or all over the world. So thank you so much, and again, congratulations.
Ms. Peak, please.
Thank you. I'm so happy to join you here today, but I was sitting there thinking, so Senator Sear graduated in 2004. I can't believe you didn't need new buildings or renovations sooner than that, the way he tore through here, after all. But it's good you got around to it now, despite the condition that the senator left the high school in back then. But it is absolutely an honor to be here today. I want to make sure to give mention to Representative Chris Flanagan, who has the adjoining district to mine, the 1st Barnstable district. I represent the 4th Barnstable district. That's not in order of preference or who's best, because we know my district is the best, even though his is called the 1st. But Chris is here today representing Brewster, and Brewster squarely is within the Nauset Regional School District. And in fact, I think that was one of the communities we were a little worried about with the vote, but it turns out that worry was a good thing because the results were excellent coming from that community and all of the communities within the district. I want to say hello and give a shout out to the former superintendent's club that is here as well. It's good to see, I think, both of you. I think there were 2 here. And 1, 2, right? And good to see you both. And I think that speaks volumes about the school and the nurturing type of place it is, that even folks who have dedicated their professional career to the Nauset Public Schools are coming back for an event like this. And I'm excited to be here because I've had the opportunity to be at similar events for the Monomoy Regional School District and the Cape Cod Tech District as well. And I know this is a moment in time where there's sort of a timeline or a life to these projects. There is the planning and anxiety that goes with that, the planning and anxiety that goes with garnering community support and the hard work that goes along with that. And by the way, special kudos to the building committee, the school committee, and the school administration and the students who did that, let's remember, during COVID. As we all sit out here today without our masks on, it's easy to remember we had this 2.5 to 3 year period where first we didn't know if we could get together at all. Then we had to figure out how to unmute on the Zoom calls. We had to figure out how to set up Zoom calls, all of those types of challenges. So on top of all of the regular challenges that districts across the Commonwealth go through, you overcame a global pandemic in order to make this happen. So special kudos for that. And then we stand here today, a moment of great joy where you can actually see progress. You see the shovels that if I stopped talking and shoveling it out of my mouth, we could get there and shovel some sand. But I'm going to take my moment in front of the microphone because it is a joyous moment. And I look forward to coming back, signing that I-beam, and then, of course, for the giant ribbon cutting. And through it all, I have seen students in the other districts that I represent share that same nervousness and anticipation, and then the joy and really just the utter excitement and joy of being in a place that has the feeling that it has been built for them. And these are buildings that are being built and renovated for our students first and foremost. Another challenge that you face and overcome, I know, with all due respect to Jack from the School Building Authority, they like to come down with a 3-ring binder and say, here you go, pick which school design you would like. Do you want one that looks like Model A? Do you want one that looks like Model B? Or do you want one that looks like Model C? And all of you in the community said, no, we want one that looks like this. We just want it upgraded to be a 21st century school. So thank you to the School Building Authority for your flexibility with this, but thank you to our building committee and our school committee here for your tenacity in insisting that we didn't want, I shouldn't say it, but a cookie cutter school here. There's nothing cookie cutter about the Outer and Lower Cape, and there shouldn't be anything cookie cutter about our schools. So congratulations again. I can't wait to be back here and walk the new and newly refurbished hallways and continue to take such joy and pride in what happens within these walls and on this campus here in Eastham. So thank you for including me today.
Up next, we have Mr. Anthony, is the conductor of the Nauset School Brass Ensemble. They have a piece to play for us. Next up, we have some words of wisdom from Mr. Jack McCarthy from MSBA.
I don't know about words of wisdom, but I will say something. But first of all, let me just say the brass ensemble was excellent, is excellent, and being an old baritone player myself, I just want to recognize Emma Taylor as my fellow baritone players. So on behalf of Treasurer Goldberg, who's the chair of the Mass School Building Authority by virtue of being the state treasurer, thank you for allowing us to be part of this celebration. You know, the mission of the Mass School Building Authority is to partner with Massachusetts communities to support the construction and design of educationally appropriate, flexible, sustainable, and cost-effective public school facilities. And this certainly meets that ideal, even though we're in a crazy economic time. They're still building it as economically and efficiently as they can. You know, Benjamin Franklin once said, an investment in education pays the best interest. And we at the MSBA are proud to be your investing partners to the tune of about $35 million for this project. I want to just recognize the leadership from your legislative delegation. When I tell you they are always on my back to make sure I'm giving you guys everything I can, and including we've got that legislation that was put into the budget that hopefully will see its way through. I just want to thank them for their leadership. They're continually every day showing that. And I want to congratulate Greg and where is he? There he is. Greg and the school building committee. You put together a great team, and I have the utmost confidence that, you know, between Flansburgh, CHA, and Brake Builders, that this is going to come in on time and on the new budget as much as possible, and it will. And the reason I say that, it's because that's what they do for the MSBA and districts all over the Commonwealth. So I have no doubt, and I'm putting pressure on you all to make me not a liar, that this will be on time and on budget. I had a great chance to talk to the principal before I got here so early that I was looking to kill time. And just in the short time I got to sit in his office and talk to him about this, I wish he was my principal when I was in school. I mean, you can tell he loves what he does. You can tell he believes in the educators that teach these children, but most importantly, he believes in the children here, and I do too. And I think you have to take notice, all you students, of the 4 communities that voted for this school. I mean, they voted to raise their taxes, and the reason they did that is because they believe in you. They believe that you deserve this. They believe that you deserve an education in a 21st century building. And so just remember that every time you walk through all the new buildings and the renovations, that they are here because they believed in you. And so just know that. This is my last ceremony, by the way. I'm retiring in June 30th. And I close every one with this quote that really, I think it tells you how I feel about what I do every day. Dan Valentine was a reporter for the Salt Lake City Tribune, and he once described a school as a building of 4 walls with tomorrow inside. And we at the MSBA are proud to be Nauset Regional High School's tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Good luck in retirement. Next up, we have Andrew Clark from the high school staff, followed by Caroline Lavati Brown, class president of the class of 2026.
Thank you very much. I'm finishing my 27th year at Nauset Regional High School. Caroline is finishing her first at Nauset Regional High School. When I walked on this campus, my first start in public education, I was extraordinarily fortunate. I had 3 fantastic role models. Very, very different people, but all of whom believed unflinchingly in the power of an excellent public high school education. Don Baker, my department chair, arrived in the late 1960s. Diane Campbell, my mentor, my first year and throughout my career, arrived in the early 70s. And of course, Tom Conrad, who hired me, was my principal for almost 20 years. Amply building on that foundation and reinforcing it. I think we owe much to him for this project today. Those people sent their children to this high school because they knew how transformative it could be for young adults to grow into adults in a safe and effective environment. And so that's why I believe we have hallowed ground behind us, made sacred not just by their children's travels, but by the literally thousands of other young people who have grown to adulthood in this space behind us. And so I thank the community for providing us the opportunity to move into the future with more possibilities arriving to opportunities and success. And the future, my friends, is Caroline Levati Brown.
Thank you. I'd really just like to say on behalf of my class, thank you to the community and everybody here today that made this new building and this project possible for us. We're all really looking forward to getting to be the graduating class of this building, and we're really thankful for everybody. And the way you guys are taking care of us here today reminds me of when I was little. So I grew up in Provincetown. It's a really small town, and walking down the street you just see everybody you know. It's like a family there. And me and my friend, we were walking down the street. We were pretty little, and we ran into my mom's friend, Carrie. And she called my mom and just made sure that she knew where we were and that we were okay. And the way Carrie checked in on us and took care of us now reminds me of how you guys are investing in us and taking care of us with this new building. So I'd really just like to say thank you on behalf of my class for investing in us and really believing in us and making this building project possible for us. Thank you.
Okay, but now we get to move some dirt the old-fashioned way. As I call your name, would you come up and stand behind a shovel, put a hard hat on, please? These are alphabetical. We didn't pick them of who's in charge and who's the president and anybody else. So Pat Clark, principal of the high school. Brooke Clenchy, superintendent of schools. George Cruz, Flansburgh Architects. Chris Easley, chairperson, regional school committee. Tom Ferris, education liaison from Nauset Regional High School to the project. Kate Johnson, president of Break Builders. Kent Kovacs, lead architect for Flansburgh. I'll get there eventually. Mr. McCarthy from MSBA. Amanda Sawyer from CHA Project Manager Consultants. And last, Kathleen Tringali, the second educational liaison from Nauset Regional High School to the project, and myself.
Always negotiating. All right, you ready? Might have done one or two. All right, so get some dirt. Don't throw it yet. You can get closer if you like. All right. Here's what's important. While we're doing that, looking up here and smiling. Count to three. While we're looking up and smiling, throw the dirt. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Mr. McCarthy wanted to make sure that Caroline had a few mementos from today. Well done. number of thinking hours and labor hours of the people assembled here around this project is in the tens of thousands. It's wild to see this group assembled. Retired administrators, all the folks connected to the construction side of this. I would like to spend a minute and say thank you to students. You're at the center of this. Here we have student representatives from our various classes, our faculty in dealing with the flexibilities that are being asked every day. Just today alone, I saw the first 6 pieces of steel go vertical at about 6:45 this morning. That building there was all horizontal on the ground at 6 o'clock this morning. And we also made some special phone calls and rearranged all the traffic and everything we had to do with the flexibility of the community to do this today. So that's just one day. However, the faculty and our staff, many representatives here, have been awesome in terms of making sure education is still happening during all of this. And students have been as go with the flow as you could imagine. Moving into a modular building, day 1, day 2, teaching and learning is happening. It's really been something really awesome. So as Greg mentioned, we'll be heading into the librateria. That's our word. We have a library and a cafeteria. It's working out just fine. But before we do that, I did want to just say one thing that came together as I was actually riding a bicycle a couple days ago. I was thinking, this is happening on Flag Day. And in terms of Flag Day, if you go back to look at its official designation just after World War II, the idea was we were celebrating the democratic principles of our country. And the foundation of those democratic principles are the places where students learn. So there's really an interesting philosophical kind of confluence of things happening here today. We are breaking ground on the place that preserves, right, the logic behind what Flag Day is. So I think somehow, my grandfather, George Desmond, the old wise man, always said, it's always a little more than a coincidence, Patrick. Well, it is a little bit more than a coincidence that it's Flag Day, and here we stand talking about education and students determining the quality of life, the life that they want to have after they leave this place. And everyone knows students go on to do phenomenal things after here. So I would just like to say thank you to students, most importantly, faculty and staff, everyone gathered here who has put the thinking time, the muscle, the coordination, the meetings into this. Tom and Kathleen have been our liaisons to this project on the faculty. They keep us briefed on everything. So they've just been fantastic. So with central office folks, everyone here, thank you so much. And the commitment has been, as we are building the physical structure that is going to be absolutely awesome, we're continuing to build the program that's behind the scenes to make sure when this all comes together, this is absolutely the premier comprehensive public high school in the state of Massachusetts. That's the goal, and anything less than that would be selling ourselves short. Thank you very much for everyone coming, and we'll see you in the librateria for some drinks. Hold on. As any construction project, things change. So we have another idea through Steve Meyer from Great Builders. So if the students here, including the band members, would take 5 minutes and do their own shovel ceremony for posterity, please. Any of the students, please.
Let's go.
That'd be great.
Madam Vice President, let's go. Okay. Take shifts. Oh, that's it.
Yeah, take shifts.
I'm gonna come up here a
You
little.
can always share. You can say you got 2 hands on the shovel. That's right. So we do.
This is the best part.
Collaboration.
Oh, hold, before we do, yeah.
Oh, twist the thing in the back. Tighten this up. Life lessons in school.
Construction engineers.
All right, so I'll count you off. How's that? Yeah, count them off. Good. What are we going to do without you? You can't be tired. Baritone player, pick up some dirt.
Oh,
Now listen, it's very important. Look up and smile when you throw the dirt. Don't look down. That's where you get the dirt in your teeth. All right, ready? Looking up, smiling on the count of 3. 1, 2,
Get out of the way!
3.
Let's go.
All right, do it again because I photobombed it.
No, you're good. You're good.
Wait, one more.
Sure, one more.
Don't forget, looking up, smiling on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Woo!